My name is Jameer Alsup, and today I'm going to be talking about African American resistance and how it is not something that just happens occasionally, but something that has always been a core part of black culture and identity. In this presentation, I'll go over what resistance means, who black people are resistant against, the different types of resistance, the consequences of people and what resistance has faced, the misunderstanding of resistance, why resistance matters, and then I'll end with a conclusion. When people hear the word resistance, they usually think about protests or rebellions, but for black Americans, resistance has always been much of a broader scale than that. It includes everything from surviving slavery to fighting for civil rights to expressing identity through culture like music, language, and fashion. Resistance is not just something people do, it is something that has become part of black culture and identity over time. It has always been a powerful force for both survival and change. Black people have resisted throughout history for several important reasons. First, oppression and justice. Systems like slavery, segregation, and systematic racism created conditions where resistance was absolutely necessary. Second, the fight for freedom and rights. When basic human rights and political rights are denied, resistance becomes a response to that unfair treatment. Third, survival. Resistance wasn't always about big movements. It was often about protecting your life, your family, and your community. Another reason is preserving identity and culture. Even in the worst conditions, black people resisted by holding onto traditions, values, and self worth. And finally, demanding change. Resistance pushes society to become more fair, more equal, and more just. There are several different types of resistance, and they don't all look the same. Physical resistance include things like revolts, fighting back, and escaping slavery. Political resistance includes protesting, voting, activism, and pushing for new laws. Cultural resistance involves using music, fashion, hairstyle, and language to express identity and challenge stereotypes. And finally, everyday resistance. This includes smaller actions like getting an education, succeeding despite obstacles, and challenging negative stereotypes in daily life. All of these forms are important and they all contribute to change in different ways. Enslaved Africans resisted because they felt like they were facing extreme violence, forced labor, loss of freedom, and separation of their families. Because of these conditions, they were pushed to fight back in any way they could. They also preserved their culture through music, religion, storytelling, language, and traditions. These weren't just cultural practices, they were acts of resistance that helped maintain identity and build community. Resistance wasn't just one event, it was constant. It included organized revolts, escaping through networks such as the Underground Railroad, and everyday acts like slowing down work, disobeying orders, or secretly learning to read and write. These actions showed strength, intelligence, and determination even in extremely difficult conditions. Resisting injustice has always come with serious consequences. Many people faced physical punishments, including being beaten, tortured, or even killed. Lynching was also used as a form of terror to punish and intimidate black people. There were also legal consequences. Activists were often arrested, jailed, and targeted by the government. Some people even lost their lives. Important leaders were assassinated or died while fighting for equality. There were also social and economic risks. People could lose their jobs, opportunities, and personal safety just for speaking out. Even today, we see examples of people facing consequences for taking a stand. Resistance is often misunderstood. It is sometimes seen as aggressive or negative, even when it is peaceful. There is also a difference in how people judge peaceful versus non peaceful resistance. The media plays a big role in shaping how resistance is viewed, and often black resistance is judged more than harshly than others. Because of this, people sometimes focus on how resistance looks instead of the actual issue of injustice that caused it in the first place. Why resistance matters. Resistance is important for several reasons. First, it expands rights and freedoms. Many of the rights people have today came from resistance movements. Second, it challenges injustice. It exposes unfair systems and pushes back against oppression. Third, It helped shape democracy by making the United States more inclusive and equal. It also inspires future generations to continue fighting for justice. And most importantly, resistance is deeply connected to black culture. It is not something people do, it's something that has been passed down from generation to generation that continues to shape identity and tradition. In conclusion, resistance has always been an essential part of the black experience. It has taken many different forms, from physical and political resistance to cultural and everyday actions. Even when people face serious consequences, resistance has never stopped. It has played a major role in creating, changing, and expanding rights and improving democracy. And even today, resistance is still necessary as people continue to fight for their equality and justice. Thank you for listening.